The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Flagstaff, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34563. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 tow hooks attached to the front frame rail. Moving to the bumper face on the outer edges, you'll find your emergency siren and PA speaker. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find your air horn. Located directly in the center, you'll find on the face, Engine 2 Unit Designator. Let's move up onto the bumper extension. Just inside, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. Moving to the body on the outer edge, you'll find a marker clearance light. Then just inside of that location, you'll find your turn indicator. Inside of that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing the low and high beam headlight. The high beam is on the inside. Emergency warning lights sit directly above that. And as we look to the Pierce logo, directly behind it is where you'll find the release mechanism for the hood. Moving up onto the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers. Moving to the outer edges, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow, you'll find 5 clearance lights. Directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving up to the top, you'll find your emergency warning lights. And then also directly above that, you'll find a Go Light flood spotlight. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, starting with that front bumper load, 1.5" swivel discharge located in the front. Moving up to the Pierce logo, directly behind is where you'll find the release mechanism. Let's take a look inside the hood area, where you'll find on the passenger side the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Moving over to the driver's side is where you'll find your coolant fill location. On the back wall, you'll find a placard housing information regarding the raise and lower of the cab. As we move to the right-hand side, you'll find the yellow with the black push button on top. That is the activation switch for raise and lower. And the red switch will be the indicator in the position for raising or lowering. Moving just to the right, you'll find your power steering fluid. This is Dextron 3. It's the fill location with a sight gauge. Let's go ahead and move now to the driver's side of the vehicle. We'll start with the front of the cab, identify a few items within this area. First, let's start with the front of the cab. Bumper extension area is where you'll find an emergency warning light. As we move to the rear section of the cab, you'll find an additional emergency warning light side facing. As we move to the grab handles, these are for gaining access in and out of the cab. You do have the ability to use a glove when accessing the door handle. It is a keyed lock. Let's move up from this location, where you'll find a side-facing scene light at the very top of the window area. And then as we move to the very back section of the cab, you'll find a side-facing water level tank indicator. Let's take a look at the pump panel. We'll first start with the crosslays. There are 2 crosslays located in the upper left-hand corner, crosslay 1 and crosslay 2. Both of these are foam capable. Let's move just to the right, where we'll find our master gauges and also a placard regarding your Husky foam system specifications. To the right, you'll find your master pump intake gauge, and further to the right, you'll find the master pump discharge gauge. Located directly between those, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and are for testing purposes. Let's move down on the pump panel to the red module. First, starting in the upper left, you'll find your entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. We also have an engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then moving to the Husky foam system, you'll find operating instructions on the module itself, in addition with the green on and off button. Moving downward, you'll find a digital readout for the foam percentage that you're selecting. And to increase or decrease that foam level, it's the gray buttons for increase and decrease. Moving just to the right, you'll find a prime button. There are instructions regarding the system status light, and you'll find that the system status light solid green system is on, and then subsequently beneath that information, section 4
is where you'll find the rest of the information regarding the status. Moving just to the right, you'll find your foam system instructions. And then to the far right, you'll find your foam level tank A indicator. Let's move to the gray module now, where you'll find your engine information. Around the outer edges, you'll find oil, water temp, volts, and fuel level. Moving at the very top section in the very center is where you'll find your tachometer. Just above the tachometer, you'll find, if illuminated, a yellow check transmission light. And as we move to the left and right side of the gauges, first starting on the right, you'll find water temp, check engine, and low fuel. On the left-hand side, you'll find oil pressure, stop engine, and battery. Let's move back over to the pump boss. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the functions within it. First, starting on the left, you'll find, if illuminated, a check engine light would be yellow. In the center, you'll find a digital readout for the RPM of the engine. And moving further to the right, you'll find a stop engine. If that's illuminated, it would be in red. Moving down, you'll find a blue menu button. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pump boss pressure throttle governor. Just below that, you'll find diagnostic engine information. And further to the right, you'll find a red silence button, allowing you to silence any audible alarms from the pump boss. Moving down, you'll find two yellow buttons, pressure, RPM. Those are the two modes that you can operate within. There is a digital readout in regards to the menu selections. Moving further to the right, you'll find a green indicator, throttle is ready. And just beneath that, you'll find a green preset button, allowing you to preset any functions. Moving down to the throttle, right to increase and left to decrease. Push in the center for idle position. Let's move all the way to the very far right in this image in the gray area, where you'll find this black audible speaker. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen or increase the volume level. Let's move further to the right. We'll find some switches. First, driver side flood and passenger side flood. Just beneath that, you'll find a red air horn switch. And then beneath that, you'll find a deluge riser retract or extend. You can see it's color-coded, red in the upright position and green indicating it's stowed. Let's move down from this location to the discharges. First, front discharge, number 1 and number 2 crosslays. Those three are all foam capable. As we move down, we have the number 1, number 2, and number 3 discharges. And then moving to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air prime. It does have instructions just beneath it regarding at least 1,000 RPMs for minimum and best practices. You'll also find your large diameter passenger side discharge, which is a wheel valve. Moving to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge, passenger rear discharge, and also the number 4 discharge. Moving up to the top up here is where you're going to find the pump panel lights and also an indicator that's green indicating OK to pump. Your pump is properly engaged. Moving down from this location is where you'll find your tank, fill, and recirculating line. Moving just down from this, we've got a placard. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over this placard in the next set of images. Let's move down from this location where you'll find the driver main inlet. This is a wattress electronically controlled valve. Therefore, there is an override, and you can see it just to the right, the driver's main inlet override. As we move up to the blue module, you'll find your water level indicator. And then moving all the way to the far right, you'll find your manual pump shift. And then just beneath that, you'll find your tank to pump. Let's move down and to the left on the pump panel. Let's first start with a warning information. Pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also to the right, you'll find the 2.5-inch discharges on the driver's side. You'll also find a warning label here regarding only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they received proper training. Directly in the center is your large diameter pump intake. Just to the right, we do have a pan door with a lift and turn handle. Let's take a look inside that pan door where we'll find the setting for your relief valve. Let's move further down on the pump panel. This is going to be discharge drains. They are clearly color-coded and labeled. Just to the right, you'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. Moving just to the right location here, you'll find your pump drain, and then also you'll find the placard from Wattress indicating the type of pump you have and also the capacity, which is 1,500 GPM. Moving further to the right, this is your foam functions for draft foam tank. And as we move to the right, we have an additional pan door Behind that pan door is a instructions and also lever. The yellow lever matches the instructions on the door itself. This is for foam fill operations. Let's look just under the pump panel area where you'll find your foam pump intake drain and also the foam pump discharge drain. As we move into the cutout section, you'll find a lift up area on the diamond plate area, which is for hose storage. Let's go back and take a look at a few of those placards. First, starting with your Watrous placard. One again, CSU is the pump model, 1500 GPM. As we look to this placard, this is the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. On the left, you'll find the associated GPM, and on the right, you'll find the associated RPM at those test pressures. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find 34563, that's your 5-digit job number. Your vehicle is governed at 2130. As we move to the rear body area, you'll find wheel chocks located in front of and rear of the axle. Just above that, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location and also emergency warning light located directly in the center. As we move overhead at the very top section, you'll find a side-facing scene light. And then as we move to the very rear of the apparatus, you'll find a 360-degree emergency warning light. Let's take a look inside those compartments, first starting with the one right next to the pump panel. Adjustable shelving, LED lighting, dry deck material in each compartment. You'll also find the S1 breaker, which stands for shore power. When plugged into shore power, this panel will be active. As we move to the compartments in the open position, you can see there's 4 SCBA bottle storage location, also the silver ultra low sulfur diesel, which is the silver cap. As we move the lever down, you'll find exposes the blue 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Let's take a look at the rear here, where you'll find once again adjustable shelving, LED lighting. As we move around to the rear of the apparatus, just underneath the rear tearboard is where you'll find perimeter lighting. As we move upward from that location, you'll find a brake, turn, and reverse light. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving just inside on the vertical sheet is where you'll find 2 folding steps. Those are for gaining access to the hose bed area. As we move to the driver's side rear area is where you'll find your backup camera and also a switch for your scene lights. Moving up from that location at the very top is where you'll find your 360-degree emergency warning lights, and then further down you'll find your scene lights. Let's identify a few other items within the rear section of your apparatus. Let's first start with there is a D-handled pan door just below the hose bed. You'll also find a D-handled access for your ladder storage on the passenger side. And also in the very center, a traffic advisor. Let's take a look with the compartments in the open position. We'll first start down at the very bottom in the roll-up compartment. You'll find a pull-out style tray. The release is on the right-hand side. As we move just below the hose bed, you'll find additional storage locations. And as we move to the right, you'll find your 24-foot, 14-foot roof ladder, pike poles, and a 10-foot attic ladder. Close-ups here, camera and also rear scene light switch. As we move to the center, I would like to point out a few warning labels: entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming from a loft, and also a few warning labels regarding not riding on the rear of the apparatus and using caution when climbing on the rear of the apparatus. Here's some close-ups of the ladder section. Once again, 24-foot and a 14-foot roof, 10-foot attic. I would like to point out one additional warning label. It's on the left-hand side. Because of this compartment, when it is in the open position, there is the presence that it may be a step. It is not a stepping area, and that's why we have this warning label affixed on that door panel. As we look to the top of the apparatus, you'll find the 2 movable hose bed dividers. You'll also find a fill location for the water tank on top, and also a fill location for your foam tank A. As we move to the upper right-hand side in the dunnage area is where you'll find your Husky 3 foam system reservoir. Let's take a look at the foam tank again. This is the warning label regarding foam failure, not to mix different brands or consistencies of foam. Let's go back to the water tank. We also have a warning label here. As we move forward of the dunnage area, you'll find a few items within this area. First, the Husky foam system. There is a fill location for the hydraulic oil. You'll also find 2 pull style side floodlights, in addition with a master stream device that does have the ability to extend and retract from the panel. As we look to the hydraulic foam system, once again there is a fill location down in the lower corner. Just a quick view of some close-ups once again of the master stream device and then also a different side angle for the wheel and also lock mechanism of that master stream device. As we move to the cab, you'll find this is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these warning labels located here. Let's take a quick look just down at the crosslay area. You'll find the connection point for the discharges. You'll also find a connection point in the rear. Let's move from this location around to the passenger side rear of the vehicle. As we move through identifying a few things, first let's start in the center area with 2 SCBA bottle storage locations, and then also 2 emergency warning lights side facing, and the very top is that 360 degree. As we move to the very top center over the axle, you'll find your side facing floodlight, same layout as the driver's side. I would like to point out this label located on the SCBA door, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious as to where you choose to park your vehicle. Let's move from this location and take a look inside the compartments. Once again, LED lighting, adjustable shelving, and also dry deck material. In this compartment, you'll find a 12-volt DC barrel style outlet plug. As we move to the section over the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for 5 bottles in addition with an oxygen bottle storage. As we move overhead, you'll find your tool board. The release mechanism on the hinge side will release it to restore back to its original position. Let's move to the pump panel on the passenger side. We'll start at the very top section with the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. As we move downward and to the left in the image is where you'll find this warning label. Because of those steps, there is a fall warning hazard. Also, you'll find down at the lower section a pressure hazard warning regarding caps that may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening or removing. As we move down, you'll find the number 4 passenger side discharge. This is a 2.5-inch discharge. Moving just to the right of that location, you'll find your large diameter intake, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge. All the way to the far right in this image is where you'll find the number 2 passenger side discharge. It is a 2.5-inch discharge. Let's move down from this location to the access panel where you'll find your relief valve set screw. As we move down from this location and to the right, you'll find an access panel for gaining access behind the passenger side pump panel. At the very bottom on the left is where you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving to the right, you'll find your passenger side auxiliary inlet, 2.5-inch female, and also additional drains. As we move to the running board, you'll find an access for hose storage with dry deck material inside. And let's take a quick look underneath where you'll find your tire chains. Let's move from this location all the way around to the driver's side access area. First, attached to the door panel is where you'll find all of our warning labels and information. Let's move just inside the cab area where you'll find just below the seat area your shoreline inlet. This is a 30 amp plug. As we move just inside of this location, about the right ankle of the operator, is where you'll find this placard manufactured by Pierce for your fire department. It has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, VIN number, cold tire inflation. It also has all of the fluid capacities for the components and fluid type. Let's move to the floorboard where you'll find 2 foot pedals, first air horn and electronic siren, brake treadle, and accelerator. About the left knee of the operator, you'll find some diagnostic information. First, a tech module, engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port, and to the right, a display port. As we move downward from this location, you'll find 4 switches. First, we'll start at the very top with the ABS diagnostics, engine diagnostics, regen inhibit, and DPF regen. Let's move now to the dash area. We'll first start on the left-hand side of the dash where you'll find the hazard lights, start switch, and ignition switch. Just inside of that location, you'll find an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. It activates and deactivates all emergency lights. To the right is your headlight switch. Further to the right is a panel switch, allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the driver. As we move to the opposite side of the steering column, you'll find the OK to engage your high idle and the OK to engage the high idle indicator. Let's move to the dash itself. You have transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temperature. On the right-hand side of the column, you'll find your volts, fuel, front air, and rear air. You have a speedometer and tachometer located directly in the center. Diagnostic engine information will display above and below the speedometer. Let's move just to the right. Not pictured in the image is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. It is the yellow diamond. Moving to the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone, a tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more information. To the right of that, you'll find your Allison push button transmission pad. And then moving further to the right, you'll find a set of switches. We'll go over those switches in just a moment. And then further to the right, you'll find your pump shift. Let's go back to the Pierce command zone. Once again, a tremendous amount of information is right here in these displays. Please see your owner's manual for more information. Just to the right, Allison transmission pad with an information to pump and drive. As we move further to the right, this is going to be for your modem on-off switch, like a reset. As we move downward, we'll find the retarder on and off switch, auto apply, mirror heat, tire chains, pedals move front to back, and also a radio push to talk button. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your pump shift and also mirror controls. Just above that is the right and left mirror controls. At the very bottom section is where you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions for road to pump operations and from pump to road operations. 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, are required for exiting the cab for pump operations. As we move up onto the top, you'll find your Go Light control module. Moving forward to the front windshield area is where you'll find your climate control for heat and defrost and air conditioning. You'll also find over the operator's head on the left-hand side of the front panel this placard. It is the height of your vehicle, 9 feet 7.1 inches, the length 33 feet 7 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 46,500 pounds. If you make any changes, please update this placard. As we move to the right, you'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning. The next section down, you'll find lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and your electronic siren. Moving further to the right, we've got an additional switch panel. We have front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. As we move down, driver's side flood and passenger side flood, a future switch if necessary, and also a load manager. You can see when the light has been depressed, as in the load manager, the light around the edge of the switch will illuminate. Moving further to the right, you'll find your PA speaker and siren control module. Moving further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor. Located directly in the center is where you'll find your unit speaker, and then also a red light indicating do not move your apparatus. You may have a compartment door open or a person door open. Let's move overhead in the operator's area, first with the David Clark headset system at the very top section, along with your air conditioning vents. As we move directly behind the operator's seat, you'll find your cradle point access. You'll also find your battery charging system when plugged into shore power. This will activate. Further to the right, you'll find a shoreline outlet. Once again, when plugged into shoreline, this will be active. You'll also find a speaker. This is in direct correlation with your backup camera system. It carries the audio into the cab area. There is a volume control on the lower right-hand side of the speaker. As we move to the cab rear, you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our warning labels. You'll also find just inside the cab there is an access panel at the rear of the engine. This allows you to complete your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's go ahead and take a look around the rear section of the cab area. First, there are 2 seats located in the center area. As we move to the outer edges, you'll find 2 fold-down seats. Seat belts are red in color for ease of visual identification. As we look overhead of the 2 seats is where you'll find your David Clark headset system on the rear wall. As we move to the forward section, you'll find just above the check location for your daily checks an additional compartment and storage location. Let's move from this location to behind the officer seat, where you'll find your inverter and then also your unit radio storage location. Moving now around to the front section of the cab where the officer resides, you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning labels. As we move inside the cab, you'll also find a radio push to talk on the very front section. As we move more toward the rear of the console is where you'll find 12-volt access via 2 barrel style and 1 USB. You'll also find these candy cane style warning labels. These are indicating that there is spare wire behind the panel. It identifies the wire type and the connection type. Moving forward to this location, you'll find your vehicle data recorder. As we move overhead, you'll find air conditioning vents. Also, you'll find your push on and off red or white lens lights, and then also a few components in the officer space. First, starting with your unit radio. You'll also find a AM/FM weather band radio. We do also have a switch panel in this location for the front flood, passenger side flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. Congratulations, Flagstaff, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus. Job number 34563. If you have any questions about your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you.